Welcome to the Fire Chief's monthly video message. This month I have Lieutenant Sam Villani, Fire Station 16 with me. Sam, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Chief.
So, you saw my video message last month. You decided to make the suggestion and come join me today. So, what type of topics do we like to hit on today's message?
Well, definitely want to stick with the format. I think obviously your format's excellent for getting it out there in the county. Start with recognitions.
Yeah, thank you much. One of the things about the message is always to share with everybody in the department good deeds done by members. Chief Jim Jarboe, Tacoma Park Volunteer Fire Department. Jim has always been around at community fairs, community events, over 50 years of being involved in the community with public safety messaging. He was recently honored by the National Volunteer Fire Council as their Fire Prevention and Education Award for his actions. Is it CPR classes or babysitter training or a monthly article in the city newspaper? Chief Jarboe has been involved with public safety education for over 50 years. A job well done to Jimmy for sure, and we'll see him at this year's fair, we'll see him at this year's other community events, and we'll see Jimmy continuously at events. After Jimmy's award, a lot of work has occurred recently at Logistics, Dover Road. They processed about 25 pallets of expired PPE, accumulating a little over 750 sets of turnout gear that was past its service date, was prepared for shipment to the Africa Fire Mission. In conjunction with Battalion Chief Stacy Daniel, a full tractor trailer was provided to the Africa Fire Mission folks to be prepared, shipped, and provided to firefighters in Africa. Great amount of hard work done by the folks at property, and the benefit of our equipment being able to be used by others in the fire service.
Yeah, I saw him loading those pallets up on 2 occasions at Dover Road. It's definitely no small undertaking.
Right.
And obviously they'll put that stuff to good use for sure. So obviously in the county, with the climate we live in today, with the increased risk of domestic terror and that kind of stuff, you've been directing us to keep a better eye on station and apparatus security. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Back in 2004, the Fire Chief's General Order 14-10 was issued. It talked about apparatus station security. This was in process prior to the Wheaton ambulance that was taken from the scene of a call and relocated down the block and around the corner. It was prior to the event that occurred with a PG County EMS unit that was taken, crashed, and involved a fatality. And also we had an incident at Station 12 where a gentleman was in the engine room rummaging through the lockers. There is example after example of personnel using fire apparatus throughout overseas terror activities for access to emergency scenes, for impersonating fire rescue responders, what's being titled cloned vehicles as an example. And through the Republican National Convention recently in Minneapolis, St. Paul passed, there was an event where an ambulance was found to be hiding the weapons, hiding the components on the scene, and that was a cloned ambulance. So apparatus security is an important factor. We cannot leave our apparatus unattended when possible. Naturally, when we're on the scene of a call, it may be appropriate and it may be necessary for apparatus to be left unattended, but when we're out on the station, not on a call, apparatus needs to be secured. There's different ways to secure them. Chief Jones in the Operations Division and Fleet is working to provide keys to units that can be keyed. Our EMS units have electric locks on them. So there's different ways to secure the apparatus safely, but at the same time, we always want to be receptive to a community member that comes up to the unit and provide that community outreach or that child public ed demonstration. So heed the warning of 1410 and always provide protection and security to the apparatus when possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely vital. Don't want to lose any apparatus, and certainly no equipment either. I mean, obviously the equipment we carry, easy access if we're not either securing it or keeping an eye on it. What about the? I know there's been some changes in the EEO office And there's also some changes upcoming in the recruiting office that you've.
Yep. So Mike Ziegler from the Investigative Programs Office is retired. He moved on to be the executive director of the Maryland Corrections and Police Training Commission, the MIFRE equivalent for the law enforcement in the state. Mike was our EEO officer, but prior to Mike's leaving, I had begun the work to name a deputy EEO officer. That coincided with Mike's announcement of his departure, is one of the elements that caused the naming of Lieutenant Dave Kennedy to be the EEO officer. And there's a little bit of confusion out there that Dave is not replacing Mike. Dave is not a one-for-one for Mike. Dave's role is EEO and our diversity components. There's a position that'll be advertised to replace Mike as an investigator. That person will have a law enforcement background and will join Ray in the Investigative Programs Office to do that component. So Dave's focusing on EEO and diversity. He's developing a list of counselors or deputy EEO officers so that there's more depth on the bench and more capabilities and resources out there. As it relates to the recruiting component, let me roll backwards. There's been a training program in process for a good time now in conjunction with the Office of Human Resources and Jeff Firetag at IT Training to do an online EEO training module. We are actually required by Human Resources to have an annual EEO training process. There's been no remote delivery method for that. We've developed that in conjunction with Human Resources, and that will be rolling out here in the near future. As it relates to recruiting, we anticipate having a test in the October timeframe. Exact date's not set yet. That test will feed the development of a list. That list will then feed the anticipated May of 2016 recruit class. That'll be our next recruit class. So as we roll into the summertime and early fall, we'll be doing focused recruiting. We're getting ready to put out a survey, or more like an expression of interest, asking folks within our department that have an interest in recruiting to join us in that process and develop a cadre of recruiters and work on that focused recruiting activity. So we're retooling that recruiting plan and anticipate having a robust activity throughout the late summer and early fall for that October test.
Excellent, excellent.
So I had my 3 items. You developed a few items. How did you come about your list?
When you had asked me to consider doing this and come up with questions, obviously I accepted. I'm here today. I didn't want to just write some questions down on my own volition. I'm very, obviously, in the fire service, the shift we end up being on, being attached to, becomes our second family pretty much. And I try to run anything I do professionally by them, even if it's just asking a few questions. And this was no exception. So last shift at dinner was our top good dinner conversation, and we brainstormed some ideas. I think we came up with 8 or 10
Yep.
That we sent you question ideas, so that it was more representative, obviously, of the department and not just from one person.
Good deal.
So yeah, it was a good positive experience, and it's something we do quite a lot. It came pretty naturally.
So what's one of your ideas? What's one of your questions that came up from dinner?
Obviously with CMF, with the apparatus, for example, at 16, we're an RE4 and RT4, so we're very tied closely to CMF, and we have Mr. Bob Burrows there, which is near and dear to our heart. So CMF is also near and dear to our heart. So we're and also Derek Buckley on my shift is detailed up there to do the small tools, the Thea stuff right now. So we talk about it quite a bit, and we're under the understanding, obviously, from some earlier communications from you about staffing.
Yep.
Coming July 1st?
So very happy to see that the council budget, the executive's budget, was passed and supported by council. It provides new staffing and additional staffing at CMF. The procurement of apparatus, the maintenance of that apparatus, and the ability to keep the fleet on the road with a little over 200 pieces of heavy equipment from ambulances throughout, up and above, is a daunting task for CMF. These 6 new positions provide us the beginning components of what can be termed a second shift at CMF. We're going to get a manager who has heavy equipment shop experience to manage the shop itself. They're going to get another crew chief, 2 mechanics, another parts technician. Through industry baselines and standards, numerically it articulates that we're still about 3 mechanics short, even with the new increase that we're getting on board with the FY16 budget. So staff is working with the executive departments and OMB, as well as council and the representative organizations, to articulate that, lay that out, and demonstrate the need for full support at maintenance. But these new folks will hopefully begin to allow us to focus their efforts, or the second shift's efforts, on preventative maintenance. We do a lot of running repairs, and we have a challenge to maintain the PMs, with allowing you all to drive by with coordination and have something fixed at the day of the time. So the second shift at CMF will be a great benefit. I still want to have 2 or 3 mechanics on the road with road service, and while the new staffing of 6 personnel will both bolster us, we're already 2 mechanics short. So we're down on our current complement. So it's a challenge there, but new apparatus is on order, and we've got a good road ahead. So thank you.
I know that service truck model is definitely invaluable. Twice semi-recently, service truck came out when we were on the side of the road, and were able to do a field fix that actually was a permanent fix. And obviously back in service quicker, and negated having to tow the rig or anything like that. So definitely a good model. What about I know again there's some upcoming changes with our safe structural firefighting SOP.
Yep, safe structural firefighting SOP is a document from the latter parts of 2005. A lot has changed in our industry since that time frame. We've talked about that here at the table before. The Operations Division and Chief Jones is working on crafting that policy into a more encompassing incident response policy. We have a different policy for safe structural, we have a different policy for accountability, we have a different policy for incident rehab, we have a different policy for vehicle collisions. We could take several of those policies and bring them together into an incident response policy, because they're all tied integral together, and call it modules or chapters or parts of that deal with the specific components. But one of the goals referenced the revision is to include current firefighting strategy and doctrine into the policy, which is missing today. The policy statement is about 3 lines long in the current policy. We're talking about flow path and ventilation controlled fires and how to react to ventilation activities. The life safety priorities and sequence. That's not embedded into the policy today. That's something we teach in a different means and method, but it should be incorporated into the policy. Survivability profile on the assessment, how we do that risk-benefit analysis, should be driven into the policy so it's a concise document. And then structural assessment. By far, as we keep learning more and more about new engineering, new construction methods, and how that impacts the 6 to 8 minutes before engineered systems start to fail, we need to clearly have that as part of the structural assessment, as part of our safe structural firefighting policy. I anticipate that the Chief Jones will have a draft policy to give out to the associations and the representative groups to look at in the the midsummer time frame, with a planned rollout of early fall for a new policy with an implementation thereafter. So definitely want to get the policy to reflect the changes and the application of firefighting, and not be modified by several different GOs as it is today.
Yeah, there's been a big, obviously in the American fire service, there's been a big transition from, we used to call it the art of firefighting, the art of forcible entry, it's really the science of, if you think about it. And even if you just take a small element like forcible entry, a good friend of mine that Robert James, he said before he started studying forcible entry, he feels that every successful force he had was sheer luck, until you really study the science behind those things and practice it like we do with everything else in the fire service. And obviously the flow path model and everything that NIST has done has proven that there is a science that we absolutely need to appreciate and take into consideration.
And we just had folks recently do with another testing with NIST, and a follow-up with that, with the folks from NIST and the folks from UL, they're clearly taking our industry and bringing science into it, or more technically, bringing us into science and understanding science.
Absolutely.
So, no doubt.
Kind of along, I guess, along the line of the additional staffing stuff, I know Fire Station 40 is about to get some changes here. Can you speak on that stuff?
Yep. As we were developing the FY16 budget, Chief Hine and myself were working with Chief Kelly from Sandy Spring Volunteer Fire Department about staffing models and staffing strategies at Station 40. There are currently 5 during the day and 3 at nights and weekends. With the engine, the truck, and the ambulance there, there's a minimum staffing element there of 8 personnel if you don't consider it an AFRA, or 9 personnel if you consider Engine 740 an AFRA. We were able, with the budget and the executive support, to raise Station 40 to 6 personnel 24 hours a day on shift work. That'll take effect at the beginning of the calendar year, so roughly January 1st of 2016. That will make Engine 740 an AFRA. So those 6 people will be able to ensure that the first 2 units at Station 40 get out the door on each call, be it the engine in the ambulance, be it the engine in the truck. And we have had success recently with the standby program with Station 40, and I believe that we'll be able to sustain more reliable 3 service response from Station 40 with that 6 personnel provided nights and weekends. I still want to get Station 40 to the staffing during the day, so that the engine, the truck, and the ambulance are staffed during the day, which is an additional 3 personnel on day work. Hopefully we can get that with the FY17 budget. As we talk the FY17 budget, it's never too early to talk the budget and what you want to do. There's still 6 stations after Station 40 that don't have paramedic response capability. Tacoma Park, Cabin John, Glen Echo, Kensington, Station 20, in Old Georgetown, and Democracy at Station 26. I need to get those stations up to the paramedic response capacity on a paramedic engine company, and then move into implementing the chase car program. So that's where we're pushing the activities for FY17 staffing and focus. So.
Excellent. Yeah, that's all. Obviously, that 4-person model on the engine companies is huge across, obviously, the ALS delivery, but on top of it, having that extra person is, as you very well know, night and day difference.
Yep.
Night and day difference.
So you've joined me this month, Sam. Next month I have Battalion Chief Dave Polikoff due to come to join me, and I have 1 person already slated for August, but I'm taking reservations for September. So pass the word. Anybody who hears us today, definitely take the opportunity to develop your questions. Give me an email, ask to come join here in the studio. So Chief Polikoff will be here next month. Until next month, everybody make sure that you're ready. We're going to go into the dog days of summer. Be ready, be safe, and stay hydrated. Take care, everybody.